Well, good morning there, peoples.
Good morning.
It is a very nice spring day. I think it's like 65 degrees. So we are starting off our day with a nice walk in the local park. We're like 10 minutes away from our Airbnb in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
So we are currently at Spring Meadows Park. There's a bunch of different interconnecting trails here that you can do. The one that we are doing is supposed to be like a 1.5 mile loop, kind of around the perimeter of the park. But you can kind of walk as little or as much as you want to.
Yeah, so it's just a really pretty day. We have some plans this afternoon to do an architectural city walk around downtown Carlisle. We downloaded a map and there's like a bunch of different points on the map to walk around and see the architecture. So this is just a warm up for that day. So we're just gonna get Riley moving and see how the rest of the day progresses.
You might hear her panting in the background. She's very excited.
She's very excited. Interrupt this architecture park walk to bring you the Pennsylvania French fry for our Riley girl. You know so many of those words that I just said. So, as you guys know, every time we go to a new state, we always make sure to get a somewhat local French fry for Riley. Right? She's so excited. Yeah. The French fry may or may not be sitting on the dashboard cooling down right now. So, we have come to Quaker Steak and Lube. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you might say, well, why are you getting your oil changed and telling us about French fries? Well, it is indeed a restaurant. Candace knows the history. I'm going to pass it over to Candace.
So the first Quaker Steak was built in Sharon, Pennsylvania in 1974. The first one was actually built in an old automotive repair shop. Hence the name, Quaker Steak and Lube. So that's pretty cool. Now it is just a restaurant. I don't believe you can get your oil changed or your car repaired while you're eating, unfortunately.
No. But they do have a drive-up pickup window that has the old style hose that you would get at a service station. So when you drive, it dings the hose. I'm an odd fellow. I thought the drive-up window was a walk-up window, so I parked and was literally getting ready to hop out of the car, and Candace was like, I think you drive up to get your food, and I looked, and the hose on the ground, which I knew what it was there for, I was literally just going to walk up there and step on the hose to get help.
I should have just let him do it. That would have been really entertaining.
Because she definitely would have put that in the video. So yeah, that's not what happened. I drove up and got food like a regular person. But, all right, baby.
She said, I've been waiting. Come on now.
She's been very patient. Let's get a nice close-up. Y'all see that? That there is a French fry. So, Riley, this is your Pennsylvania French fry from Quaker Steak and Lube. This is by far her favorite part of the trip.
Alright, so I think we're actually going to eat our lunch now that we picked up. And then we'll see y'all in downtown Carlisle for the architecture tour.
Let's do it.
This started getting rough.
We have made it to downtown Carlisle, where the three of us are going to do the Architectural City Walk tour. We found a map online. There's a bunch of different stops. I don't think we're going to go to all of them, but I think we're going to get to as many as we can see and point out the beautiful architecture. We are actually in front of stop number 1, which is the First Presbyterian Church of Carlisle. And this was actually the first public building in the entire city.
In 1774, citizens met here to adopt resolutions condemning the closing of the port of Boston by the British. Many Revolutionary War officers were members of this congregation.
Construction on this house began in 1794. The house retains much of its original interior and is the best preserved 18th century house in Carlisle.
Stephen Duncan, a merchant who came to Carlisle in the 1750s, built this stone home. Duncan was a justice of the peace, a member of the Pennsylvania Assembly, and a trustee of Dickinson College.
Judge Thomas Duncan, son of Stephen Duncan, built this house in the 1780s. Note the flat arched lintels with keystones above the windows. These are features found on houses built in the 1780s and 1790s.
This building wasn't on the list, but it was too beautiful not to film. This was an operating prison from 1854 to 1984. In Pennsylvania, the castle-style prison was very popular in the mid-19th century. The previous jail was also built on the same lot of land, meaning the lot housed a prison from 1753 until 1984.
William Lyon built this house in 1788. Lyon served as a first lieutenant in the Pennsylvania Regiment during the French and Indian War, was a prosperous shopkeeper, and held several offices in county government.
Tavern keeper John Pollock built this house in the 1760s. The tavern was a 33-foot square stone house with a 25-foot square stone addition that housed a kitchen and a bar room on the first floor. The tavern had its own brewery and still in the cellar.
This is one of the few surviving houses in Carlisle built before the Revolutionary War. Note that this house also features the arched stone lintels over the windows on the first floor.
Although the location of all the doors and windows were altered in the 19th century, this 1.5-story log house most likely dates back to the Revolutionary War era. Note the half-dovetailed construction at the corners of the home.
Well, it started raining worse. Riley and Candace headed back to the car, and I was bound and determined to finish the tour by myself. I got almost halfway done. So now we're heading back to the car. Well, like I said, it started raining a little bit too hard, so Candace decided to do the noble thing and keep herself dry with our dog in the car. I was explaining that I was still continuing the tour, and then it started raining harder, and I don't want our camera to get wet. So, the tour was interesting. We didn't finish. I'll be honest, I enjoyed the other buildings a lot more than the ones on the tour walk.
Yeah.
There were some beautiful churches that weren't mentioned. There was the castle, the jail that I showed you guys. There's just a lot of really cool stuff that wasn't on the list. So I will link the place we found the tour in the description below so you guys can follow it. But honestly, just
skip all of those and look at all of the other buildings.
just walk around downtown and see what you like, because there was a lot of really beautiful architecture. Might not have been as old. I do know that was a 17th, or excuse me, an 18th century architecture walk, but yeah, it's really pretty. Could have been a better day.
Yep.
This trip has definitely been washed out.
Yeah, pretty
Several
much
times.
60% of the time we've been here has been raining.
Which is fine, but when you're filming, it makes things a lot more difficult.
So that's going to wrap up this week's video, but we are still staying in Pennsylvania for a while longer. And in next week's video, you will see us with some horse and buggies, perhaps. We are going to Amish country, folks.
We're going Amish. She's already asleep, but nope. Now
Yeah,
she's doing something private. So we'll cover that up for her security, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for watching Riley Roams. Click subscribe to keep up with all of our latest travels, and don't forget to click that like button too.